Dawn on May 24, 1941, arrived bleak and colorless over the Denmark Strait. The sea between Iceland and Greenland felt more like a trap than a passage. On the bridge of HMS Hood, Vice Admiral Lancelot Holland searched the horizon, knowing exactly what depended on this morning. For 2 days, his force had been racing north after one threat: Germany's new battleship Bismarck, sailing with the heavy cruiser Prinz Eugen. If they reached the Atlantic shipping lanes, Britain's lifeline could snap in weeks. Holland had only 2 capital ships to stop them: Hood, the Royal Navy's pride, and the brand-new battleship Prince of Wales, still carrying civilian technicians because her gun systems kept breaking down. Hood was famous across the Empire, but beneath her reputation lay a fatal flaw. Her deck armor, strong enough for World War I tactics, was far too thin for the long-range gunnery of 1941. At 5:52 a.m., the cruiser Suffolk, patrolling through fog and snow, sent the signal every man had been waiting for: enemy in sight. Holland immediately pushed his ships to full speed, trying to close the range before Bismarck's plunging fire could exploit Hood's weakness. By the time Hood's lookouts spotted smoke on the horizon, the distance was still nearly 25,000 meters. Moments later, Bismarck fired first, huge flashes lighting the gray sky. Hood and Prince of Wales answered back, their gun barrels recoiling in sheets of flame. The battle for control of the Atlantic had begun. Holland turned to bring Hood's aft guns into action, but the maneuver exposed more of the ship to German fire. Prince of Wales struggled behind her, one turret jamming again as technicians fought to keep her guns alive. All the while, Bismarck's salvos marched closer with terrifying accuracy. At 5:59, Bismarck's 5th salvo roared into the air. Most shells splashed wide. 1, maybe 2, did not. A shell punched through Hood's thin deck armor near the mainmast and detonated deep inside the aft magazines. What followed happened almost faster than the mind could process. A flash of orange flame, a massive eruption that lifted the stern out of the water, and then a second blast that tore the ship apart. Steel shattered, debris rained down across the sea, and in less than 3 minutes, the mighty Hood was gone. Prince of Wales sailed through drifting wreckage, oil, twisted metal, fragments of a ship that had been whole moments earlier. Out of 1,418 men aboard Hood, only 3 survived, clinging to debris in the freezing water until the destroyer Electra pulled them out. The loss stunned Britain. Hood had been a national symbol, powerful, enduring, untouchable. Her destruction in minutes revealed a frightening new reality. Germany's modern battleships could challenge British supremacy itself. Prince of Wales continued the fight alone. Her crew, inexperienced and shaken, managed to land several hits on Bismarck, one rupturing a fuel tank and forcing seawater into the German ship systems. But Prince of Wales was taking heavy punishment in return. Shell splinters ripped across her bridge, killing and injuring many around the command position. And as the smoke thickened and the range shifted, the battle was far from over. Prince of Wales captain, John Leach, had no choice. He laid smoke and withdrew. The Battle of the Denmark Strait was over. Hood was gone. Bismarck was damaged, but still a threat. Her bow was leaking oil, her speed reduced from 30 to 28 knots, and her contaminated fuel made refueling at sea impossible. Her mission to raid the Atlantic convoys for weeks was now hopeless. Admiral Luchen sent a message to Berlin. Bismarck needed dockyard repairs. The closest port capable of handling her was Saint-Nazaire in occupied France, 1,700 nautical miles away. The decision was set: Bismarck would flee south, but the Royal Navy was already on the hunt. In London, news of Hood's loss shocked the Admiralty. First Sea Lord Sir Dudley Pound ordered every available ship to converge on Bismarck's last known position. Churchill personally demanded updates, making it clear Bismarck must not escape. Force H from Gibraltar steamed north. Admiral Tovey's home fleet calculated intercept courses, while the battleship Rodney abandoned a convoy to join the chase. Every cruiser within 500 miles altered course. The aircraft carriers HMS Victorious and HMS Ark Royal prepared their torpedo planes for a strike. Finding Bismarck, however, was no small task. The North Atlantic stretched endlessly, fog and rain reducing visibility to mere hundreds of meters. Shadowing cruisers Suffolk and Norfolk reported her position, but Lutyens ordered sudden course changes, driving them off. By the time the cruisers cautiously returned, Bismarck had vanished into the Gray Sea. Meanwhile, HMS Victorious launched her strike in the evening. Her aircraft were the iconic Swordfish biplanes, a relic of the 1930s, slow and ungainly, yet incredibly stable for torpedo attacks. Each carried a single Mark 12 torpedo, and each crew knew the odds. Flying into enemy fire in fabric and wood planes, exposed to freezing winds, required nerves of steel. A single well-placed torpedo could cripple a battleship. At around 11 p.m., the Swordfish found Bismarck steaming southeast, her escort reduced to a few destroyers. Lieutenant Commander Eugene Esmond split the planes into subgroups to attack from multiple angles, forcing Bismarck's gunners to divide their fire. Anti-aircraft shells lit the sky, tracer streaks slicing through the twilight. The biplanes droned on, pilot and observer working in perfect sync. Most torpedoes missed. Explosions erupted harmlessly in the sea, but one found its mark, striking Bismarck's midship starboard side. The impact shook the German battleship, a sudden, violent reminder that even slow, outdated biplanes could alter the course of history. The torpedo struck Bismarck's hull with a towering splash, the blast shaking the ship. Damage teams rushed to assess the hit. The armored belt had held, no major flooding, just buckled frames and dented plating. But the hit worsened earlier damage from Prince of Wales shell, increasing flooding in the forward compartments. Bismarck slowed another knot. Lütjens knew the Royal Navy would continue to throw everything at him. All 9 Swordfish returned safely to victorious, threading through darkness and heavy seas. A remarkable feat for inexperienced crews in terrible weather, but the attack had failed. Bismarck was still operational, still heading for France. Shadowing cruisers regained contact, reporting her position, but by early May 25, she vanished again. Lütjens had grown tired of being followed. At 3 a.m., he turned Bismarck toward the cruisers, fired a few warning shots, and scattered them. By the time they returned, Bismarck had slipped into the gray Atlantic, lost once more. The Royal Navy faced a nightmare. Bismarck could be heading anywhere: France, Norway, Greenland, or zigzagging to shake pursuit. Fuel was finite, search areas vast. Ships burned oil at dangerous rates, some nearing limits. For over 31 hours, Bismarck was invisible. Coastal Command scoured the Atlantic with flying boats, while Tovey steered King George V based on calculated guesses, hoping to intercept before she reached air cover from France. One mistake, and Bismarck would escape, and Britain's navy would be humiliated. Then, at 10 a.m. on May 26, a Catalina flying boat, Zulu 209, piloted by Flying Officer Dennis Briggs with American co-pilot Ensign Leonard Smith, spotted her. Bismarck's AA guns fired, but the report reached the Admiralty. She was heading for France. Only Force H, with battlecruiser Renown and carrier Ark Royal, was positioned to strike. Ark Royal's experienced Swordfish squadrons prepared for action despite rough weather, low clouds, driving rain, gusts up to 40 knots. At 2 p.m., Ark Royal launched 15 Swordfish. Navigating by compass and dead reckoning, the pilots searched for Bismarck. They found her steaming through gray seas, barely visible. Subgroups split off, attacking from multiple angles. Anti-aircraft fire erupted, tracer and shrapnel filling the sky. The slow biplanes pressed on, pilots steady, observers calling ranges, gunners scanning. At 60-foot altitude and 90 knots, each released its torpedo and pulled up. 11 torpedoes plunged toward the German battleship, the final chance to stop her before she reached safety. 2 Swordfish failed to drop their torpedoes. Bismarck's captain, Ernst Lindemann, swung hard to starboard, trying to comb the tracks and present the narrowest target. Most torpedoes missed, exploding harmlessly, but 2 struck. The first hit midship on the port side, detonating against the armor belt. Frames buckled, compartments flooded, but the ship survived. Pumps and watertight bulkheads contained the damage. The second hit, however, struck just forward of the rudders. The 380-pound Torpex warhead destroyed the steering gear. Hydraulic lines severed, rudders jammed at 12 degrees, and Bismarck began slow, uncontrollable circles. Engineers tried every trick: manual movement, explosives, asymmetric propeller thrust, but nothing worked. The battleship could move but could not steer, drifting back toward the pursuing British fleet. Lütjens signaled Berlin, ship no longer maneuverable. U-boats and Luftwaffe support were promised, but the crew knew the truth: they were crippled. Through the night, the crew prepared for the inevitable. Watertight doors were secured, ammunition brought up, letters entrusted to shipmates. Destroyers closed in to rescue non-essential personnel, but the seas were too rough. At dawn on May 27th, Bismarck wallowed alone in the gray Atlantic, rudder jammed, awaiting the Royal Navy. Tovey's battleships had closed the distance, guided by shadowing cruisers. King George V, with 10 14-inch guns, and Rodney, 9 16-inch guns, positioned themselves to cross Bismarck's bow. Bismarck's guns could still fire, but her uncontrolled turning made accurate fire impossible. At 8:47 a.m., Rodney opened fire at 25,000 yards. King George V joined in. Salvos methodically struck the battleship as range closed. Bismarck returned fire, but her shots fell wide. Within 20 minutes, Rodney had closed to 16,000 yards, landing near constant hits. Superstructure collapsed, turrets were destroyed or burning, fires raged, and her secondary guns were silenced. Cruisers Norfolk and Dorsetshire added their 8-inch guns, hammering the wrecked battleship. Yet Bismarck refused to sink. Her armor and compartmentalization kept her afloat. By 10 a.m., she was a blazing, listing wreck. Tovey, running low on fuel, ordered Dorsetshire to finish her. 3 torpedoes struck at point-blank range, but she still floated. Historians debate whether the crew scuttled her or if torpedo damage finally overwhelmed her. At 10:39 a.m., May 27, 1941, Bismarck rolled onto her port side and sank stern first. Out of 2,200 men, 115 survived, rescued before U-boat threats forced British ships to withdraw. Hood had been avenged. The Swordfish that hit her rudder the night before had achieved what battleships alone could not, crippling Bismarck, holding her in place, and letting heavier guns finish the job. Lieutenant John Moffett of 818 Squadron was credited with the fatal torpedo, though the chaos made certainty impossible. What mattered was the result. An obsolete, fabric-covered biplane had altered the Atlantic campaign. The legend of the Swordfish was secured. Bismarck's wreck, discovered in 1989, rests 3 miles down, a steel tomb and a testament to a single torpedo that changed history.